saying we're nobody?
So,
Hey, I see Tim Call there. He's on mute. Tim, how you doing?
Hello?
okay. I think if you just click on that, it'll get you on it.
Hey, Tim, how's it
Doing
going?
good, Jay.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody, in the meantime, before we jump in, if you want to tell us where you're
Okay.
joining us from in your class year, you can put
Yep.
that in the chat, and you access the chat by bringing up the toolbar on the bottom. You'll see the little chat icon, and you can start
Yeah.
dropping in where you're watching from and
Yeah.
when you were on the team and had Shokoff been built yet, that kind of thing.
Did they have round wheels?
I see Jimmy O'Brien.
Yes, you
Holy
do.
shit. You look old as hell.
Now, where the hell is Jimmy O'Brien?
OB.
Obi.
OB, where the hell are you, man?
Wait,
I see
let's
Ron's
see, okay.
face. I see
I got-
Ron's face. Hey, Ron.
I'm here.
How the hell you been, man?
Good.
Hey, Paul Redmond says you're still ugly.
So is he. Look at James Henry Nolan. James Henry Nolan just joined. Holy.
What's up, Granny?
How you doing, brother?
I'm in quarantine with 5 of my 6 kids. It's a joy.
I'll bet. At least you're in Florida.
Yeah, and I have a pool, and I'm sitting outside, so it's good. Life is good. How about yourself, my friend?
Hanging in, bro. You know. Got the.
Did I see Eric Davis on here?
I'm here.
Hey, Eric, Dave Civilier.
Dave's there.
The fucking Civilier. I didn't see him.
Dave, are you still up in Reading?
Yeah, Redding, California.
Oh, that's Mr. Home Computer.
That's me, yeah.
Okay, Dave, we'll have to get together.
Where are you?
In Davis.
Oh, wow. Yeah, not far at all.
All right, Terry Cullen, you ready to go?
I'm ready, brother.
Okay, let's do this. Welcome, everybody. This is the Sprint Football Digital Town Hall. Thanks for joining us tonight. Many of you probably don't know me. My name is Keith Hannon. I work for Alumni Affairs and Development for Athletics. I'll be your brief host today before turning it over to people that are way more interesting and you'll be more excited about. But just wanted to offer a little bit of Zoom 101 before we get going here. As I mentioned on your toolbar, you're going to see a bunch of options. The two most important for your experience would be the participants button and the chat button that will allow you to see who's here, and you could even send them direct messages. We already have some profanity flying, so if you want to use more of that, maybe use the chat.
Yeah.
And you can look people up by name as well in there. And also, I would just ask that everyone please mute yourself until we get to the end of the program where we'll open it up to Q&A. And with regards to Q&A, anytime you have a question, throw it in the chat, and we'll make sure we answer it as we get to the end. So we won't let any question go unanswered. And so tonight's agenda, we're going to get some updates from our coaching staff. We're going to do some player interviews. We'll get an alumni report with Jay, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. If that works for everybody, it is my pleasure to now turn it over to the Terry Cullen, head coach of Sprint Football at Cornell University, Terry Cullen. Go ahead, TC.
Well, thank you, Keith. Before we get going, I want to thank Keith. He has really gone out of his way to help our program, and particularly to help me, because as you all know, I'm a little technologically challenged, and so he does a lot for me. One other thing is going on, if you keep in mind, AD and Andy Noel is really under the gun this year. We missed a whole bunch of fundraising for the department. If you send your money into Sprint Football and you got a few extra bucks, if you send it to Andy's account, I think that would be a good time. They're really scrambling. Okay, moving right along. This town hall, I don't have any idea what you're supposed to do, so we're going to bluff our way. I'm hunkered down in the Florida home of the 150s. I have a house down here. I booked out of Cornell when they closed it down in March. I've been here ever since. So Suzanne and I were homebound too, but at least it's not snowing and blowing. It's worked out pretty good, actually. My father always said, you send thank you notes to everybody that sends in any money. And since I have to do 820 thank you notes, it's been great. As I'm speaking about my father, Bob, I remember back in the 70s, he had a vet send in 75 cents in coin from a vet hospital up in Canandaigua. And he wrote him back about a 3-page letter, and then he put it in that weekly thing that went out that how impressed he was that a guy obviously didn't have any money at all and was really hurting would send in the 75 cents. And so I've tried to stay with that. It's taken me a little bit. It's time consuming because I try to put notes on all the thank you notes, but great memories, great memories. I think about the alum, funny stories. I can't remember our current running back's name, but solid on the old timer stuff. Go back to 60s and 70s. I'm dynamite, and it's been really enjoyable. Program's been pretty solid. 50 plus years I've been here, and really been an amazing little change. I think you guys that haven't been back would recognize everything pretty much the same. We've upgraded facilities wise, which I'll get into, but the kids and the program and the coaches is pretty much the same. The increase in alumni every year has been dramatic. I mean, we're really up there the last couple of years, but the old guys still hang in there. We just had a giving day. We had 2 guys from the 40s send money in, and we had 5 guys from the team in 1960 alone. I mean, this guy's been 60 plus years. They've been gone, and they're still sending their donations in. Also, the involvement of the managers and coaches continue. I just spoke this week with coaches Wanger and Pakala, who communicate on it, and I had a surprise note from Alex Holcomb. You 80s ladies remember her? The 80, I think it was probably the 82 team suited Alex. She was our manager. She suited up and practiced, full uniform, nobody knew anything about it. They snuck her out there. And we never really figured it out until Coach Young came over and said, who's a new player? It looks pretty good. We weren't real good in 82, so Alex was an addition. Current operations on campus, super. Boy, we've had just a great couple of years. Our locker room is outstanding. I mean, just wall-to-wall carpeting, individual lockers. We've got big screen TVs, 2 of them in there that we can go over video for practices and whatever. And it's really something. Chuck Ortenberg, his 77 guy, came back, and his kid David was playing on the team. And we went down the locker room, and he says, we've come a long way. He said, when I was here in the 70s, we had a nail. And that was our locker room upstairs. For you older guys, remember we had to walk across the hallway, bare ass, and to take a shower. So the office and film room have all been redone thanks to the Clement family who paid for it. They're outstanding, really great. Managers still run the show as they always did. We lose a couple that I got to mention this year. Maddie Matsunaga, that's Ivan's daughter, and Katie Rodriguez, that's J-Rod's little sister. They retire 4 great years. So we got a rookie coming in named Nicole Werner, and she'll run the show like they always do. Coaching staff has really been upgraded. Bobby's got 3 good new additions coming in for the fall, and I think it'll be very positive. The kids, you'd like them. They look the same. They're still tough, bright, very involved. The environment's a little more liberal than you might have remembered, but it is what it is. And I'll finish up with the league. What happened was, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this, we let a bunch of Division II teams come in. And so I think we have 6 Division II teams and 4 Division I's. The only Division I's left are Army, Navy, Cornell, and Penn. And we're in 2 in each division, and we've each got 3 Division II teams. And the Division II teams, I'll tell you, they're good. They're kind of like Rutgers from you 70 guys. They can play football. And of course, the academics are not all that important at that level. So getting them in isn't a problem. And they all have full-time coaching staffs. They're on the road recruiting, have spring practice, and it's a challenge for us. For us, let me just say before I turn it over to Gino, our program is in solid shape, as good as I can remember over the years. We've got a good group coming back, very involved. I think we got 3 good leaders selected as captains. And if Anish, she's our quarterback, can stay in one piece, I think we'll have an outstanding football team next fall. That's about what I got. And I'll turn it over to, Keith, am I supposed to turn it over to Keith, Gino?
Nope, right on to Coach.
Okay, you got it, Bobby.
Thank you, Coach. Welcome, everybody. I'm here in gray, overcast Ithaca, New York, where we just had snow 3 days ago. So you guys down south and out west, they got it made. I'm going to give you an overview of our football coming up, what's been going on. It certainly could have been a challenge when this all came down. As Coach said, we have three new coaches. We have a new offensive coordinator. We have a new defensive coordinator. But the kids and the new coaches have done a tremendous job of staying focused and disciplined and doing everything they're supposed to do to get where we are right now. This is probably the closest group of players that I've had since I've been here for the 5 years. They're very close and they're all involved in the program. Right now we have 52 players on our roster. We have 4 freshmen coming in and we're waiting on 4 transfers. And then when we get back in the fall, we'll scour the campus and try to pick up another 5 or 6 freshmen that never heard of Sprint football. And we usually do a good job with that. The kids do a really good job with that. Our schedule this year, we open up with Caldwell out of Jersey. They're a relatively new team. This will be their 4th year, and last year they had their first winning season. They're a very good team. And then we head down to Penn against our arch rival. And then we have another home game against St. Thomas Aquinas, which is another new Division II school. And then we head to Chestnut Hill in Philadelphia, another relatively new Division II school. I believe this will be their 5th year. Then the whole league takes a bye. We play Post at home. We go on the road, just up the road about an hour, and play Mansfield. And then we end the season with Army. The last 2 times we played Army on the road to end the season, it was for a play-in game for the championship. And that's what our expectations are. We're expected to be in that game to see who goes to the championship game. Of course, we lost our spring practices this year with the shutdown, but we did have 2 good months of lifting team lifts. We have six captains that each have a team of 8. That's our leadership council. And they're in charge of all the lifting and with our strength and conditioning coaches. And since we've all been home, our strength and conditioning coach has been sending out lifts, and he sends 2 kinds. One for the guys that have weights at home, and he sends out body weight stuff. And of course, a lot of running and things like that. Going back to our leadership council, it's 3 seniors and 3 juniors. They're in charge, as I said, of all the members of the team. Everybody has 8 guys. The 8 players contact their captain every week and tell them what they're doing as far as workouts. And then we have a Zoom call every Friday to go over it. And right now we haven't had any issues. It's all been going great. If there is an issue, I just pick up the phone and make a phone call and talk to somebody. We've started, of course, all our virtual Zoom meetings. Actually, right before this meeting, I got off a meeting with the offensive line, the tight ends, and the quarterbacks, and we went over our first install of run plays. And what we do is I send out the plays a couple days before, and then we go over them as a group. And the guys ask a lot of good questions, and we hash them out. And if anybody comes up with a better idea than I have, I'm all for it. And we work together. And so I meet separately as an offensive coordinator. I meet with the receivers one day a week, running backs, and then the linemen and quarterbacks. And our defensive coordinator has been meeting with everybody on Zoom calls also. And that's what's been going on. It's very important for us as a program to win the off season. We have to be in great shape when we get back. We have to know the playbook. So when we get back, we can hit the ground running. And that's what's going on right now with us. And it's going well, and everybody's in contact with everybody. That's a good thing. Nobody's been lost in this whole thing. Before I throw it back over to Keith, let me introduce our three captains. Our first one is Anish Agrawal. He's a senior quarterback from New Jersey. Our second is Rafael Churchio. He is a senior offensive lineman from Staten Island. And our third is Matthew Lubke, who's a defensive lineman junior from Virginia. Okay, Keith.
How
All
much
right,
do those
thanks, Coach.
weigh?
I'm sorry?
How much do these guys weigh? They look huge.
Well, they might be a little, we got a couple guys in the 90s right now, but they'll be fine come the season.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome. We're going to start with Anish here and get to know him a little bit. And so, Anish, I think we want to talk to you a little bit about your experience with the Sprint alumni, actually. And what has that been like, getting to know some of the players and networking with some of the players that have come before you?
Yeah, definitely. Hey guys, I'm Anish Agrawal. I'm a senior and captain on the Sprint team this year. So I actually came to Cornell not knowing much about spring football. It was actually my dad who brought me into Coach Gino and Coach Collins' office. I was actually coming in as a potential javelin thrower. So I'm very happy I came, and on the first day, we met coaches at the office, and I was easily impressed with the locker room facilities and the coaching staff. But then they also talked so much about the alumni network. And organizations love to talk about the alumni network all the time, but I've definitely never been part of an organization with as strong of a relationship with the alumni as Sprint football. Like there's so many events planned with the alumni weekend and the breakfasts and the dinners for you to connect, and it's a really seamless transition to find whoever you want within your major or to reach out to. So I think the one big story that really convinced me of how strong this relation was. So Coach Cullen at the end of the season always says, and it's the end of the season, so it's November, peak recruiting time. If you need a job, come into my office. I'll get you a job. So I go in, Coach Carter asked all the juniors and seniors this year, or Mr. Carter asked everyone to come in and meet with him about this. And as soon as I walked in, it was so obvious he had prepared so much for this meeting already. He had manually gone through the LinkedIn page and found all the other CS majors. Even though there's so many automations you can make these days, he had gone through, written everyone's name down in a notepad and gave me that information right away. He was right there for me. And then also we actually tried to automate this database. And when I took a look at the database, I was shocked. There is thousands and thousands of entries, major, fraternity, brothers' names, when they were married, so much information. And that really speaks to how much the program cares about the alumni and how much Mr. Carter puts into the program to make sure that the current kids are connected. And I think we feel the most connected because Sprint is such a unique sport. Like there's some kids that hadn't played football before. There's kids cutting all the time. You share a lot of experiences and memories that a current player can talk to anyone on the call. Like it seems on the call right here, there's all different ages or all different types of people in different industries, but I feel like a connection and feel familiar with them and it's easy to talk to them because we've gone through Sprint together. Another very interesting story, I think Sunil Gupta is actually on the call. So he's actually a quarterback, CS major, and another New Jersey guy. So we had met my freshman fall at our banquet, and we immediately knew we were both CS guys from New Jersey. So we hit it off right away. We emailed for a while. We emailed for 3-4 months, talked about high schools, talked about his kids, my high school. And we actually then met up that winter break to throw on the field. So he's middle-aged now. He's ready to come out and throw with me. We actually met up with Martin also. So it was super awesome. We got some work on the field, talked a lot about what's going on. And it just felt like really familiar and really comfortable the whole time because I think that's the relationship that the current players and the alumni share.
let me jump in there, Anish. I told Anish that I'm gonna race him every year until I beat him.
Yeah, exactly. So I won the first one, but hopefully the next 20 years I should win. Something happens.
It's my motivation to keep practicing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, your routes are looking good, and I think it looks like you're keeping up in shape. So I think yeah, no, it's a great program, and I am very excited for this upcoming year. I think we actually have maybe an advantage with this whole quarantine time because the kids that are on the team are extremely disciplined, and having to take the responsibility upon your own of working out and going through the plays at home when it's really distracting to be doing whatever else. I think that's actually a benefit to us because I think the kids on the team will get it done and we'll come back next season really prepared. And I'm really enthusiastic for the next season. We got a lot of returners. We got a lot of young talent and a lot of eagerness on the team. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, Miss Keith, would you like to take it back?
Yeah, I'd just love to ask you one follow-up question. You know, CS is no cakewalk at Cornell. Some might think, you know, why try to balance this with such a demanding major? How does your experience in sprint football actually, you know, how do you think that actually supports your academics?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually very interesting. I think the percentage of engineers on the sprint team is higher than the Cornell student, like the general student body. We actually, Coach Cullen and Coach Gino always joke with me that I always bring in so many engineers. So I think there's no shortage of engineers on the team right now. But I think the balance has been good. I mean, we have practice same as any other sport between 4:30 and 6:30. So I think, you know, after class, you go to practice, come back, eat dinner, and the rest of the night's usually homework. So I think it's been a fine balance. I have other people to have support. And I don't think it's ever like sprint is also the coaches, they want your full commitment, but they're also super accommodating if you do have something that you need to go to. So as long as you're smart with it and you have some good friends in your classes and on our team, it hasn't been too much of an issue.
Great. Well, thanks so much. And we're going to move on now and say hello to Rafe.
Hey, guys.
Rafe is an offensive lineman, and we want to ask Rafe about playing in the alumni game. His father is class of 81. So first off, what was it like to go up against Dad?
When I was about 15 my dad's a pretty old school guy in terms of discipline. So when I was 16, he said, look, you're getting too big for me to hit anymore. So this has to stop. And little did he know, 3 years later, he's putting on pads and I've got him right where I want him. And I don't know, I think my favorite part about going against him is he lined up as a 3-tech defensive lineman. And we call an inside trap the other way. So I'm going to pull. And then we get to the line, Connor Ostrander playing quarterback. He sees that we have to run it towards the 3-tech. So he goes easy and he switches it to that side. And I see my dad's the 3-tech. So very discreetly, I go, yeah, Dad, you're going to have to slant in on this play. And he's like, why? I go, slant in. He's like, okay. And boom, slants in. I just wash it down. I got on the sideline. Coach Volpe is the offensive line coach. He goes, what happened on that play? I go, D lineman slanted in. I couldn't have expected it. And I love the alumni game because it's a very mixed bag because, you know, some days the competition is very much a toss-up each year because, you know, some days you'll go out and you see Andrew Badu sleeping 10 minutes before kickoff. Other times, Evan Ball shows up on 10 hours sleep and decides to have the game of his life. It's a lot of fun. I like seeing my old friends and meeting older people.
Yeah, I mean, what does it tell you about the program and, you know, what have you learned? Obviously, you probably learned a lot from your dad, but, you know, there's not a lot of, if any, teams on campus that have that kind of game anymore. What do you think that says about the community?
I think it says a lot about how, in more ways than one, sprint football is the gift that keeps on giving because not only do I get to play football for 4 years, I get to have friendships, I get to network. For the rest of my life, as long as I'm willing and able, I can play football once a year. And I just think that's often an overlooked lifetime benefit of it. I love the game.
Well, thanks so much for for sharing those insights with us and those stories. I'm guessing the question probably everyone wants to know, who's going to leave a greater legacy? Is it going to be you or your dad?
Once the money runs out, it'll be him.
All right. Well, let's jump over to Matthew. Matthew, as a captain, what are the three of you doing to build teamwork in a winning culture?
So I think a winning culture is important this year, especially coming after a year where we didn't win too many games. But this year I have a lot of optimism because I think starting early with holding guys accountable and expecting more than them early on has been really instrumental to where we are now. I know the captains personally expect to sit down with every player on the team in a Zoom meeting, and we're planning on talking to them about our expectations of them, what their goals are for this season, and how they're going to achieve those goals. And I think that goes a long way, especially like halfway through the summer where guys are debating running on a hot day or sitting inside eating a bag of potato chips. So I think just keeping the purpose in mind, especially this off season when it's really easy to turn a blind eye, is really important. Another thing we're doing is having defensive meetings. I know personally we're having defensive and offensive meetings with the coaches throughout the off season. So we'll be installing way before we even get out on the field. So I think building this communication between the coaches, the players, and the players themselves, is just instrumental to building the teamwork and the winning culture that we're going to need. And it's one of the off seasons, so that's mainly the motto, I guess, going into this next season.
Yeah, Coach talked about it a little bit. Are you finding that the team is, even in these hard times, able to maintain at least as best you can some chemistry?
It's we have meetings on Thursday nights, and I honestly look forward to them just because football is a thing to do, and there's not much of that these days. So I definitely think the guys are really taking this seriously. I know personally that my defensive line group is making challenges weekly to kind of challenge guys to do different things, like exercise wise, just because there's no traditional gym, no numbers to really post, things like that. So it's really just about finding ways to be creative and imaginative and just, pushing guys to give their best effort no matter where they are. I don't know what they're doing.
Great. Well, thanks so much. And best of luck to you and all the other and your fellow captains. We're going to jump now to Terry Cullen's been here a long time, but almost as long is Coach Willie Evans, who's going to join us now and talk a little bit about his time in the program. Take it away, Coach.
Hey guys, first of all, I hope everybody is happy and healthy. It's great to be part of Cornell. It's super to be part of Sprint football. So I've been asked to speak about my experiences. I've been here for over 20 years. I've seen a lot of kids, a lot of guys come through the program, a lot of coaches. I've seen the teams change. We had Rutgers here at one point, and it was the Ivy League and Rutgers and Penn and Princeton, our nemesis. Now I'm seeing a bunch of the Division two schools coming in. Again, people have spoken before me. They don't have the same academia standards, but man, do they got some athletes. I was also asked why I continue to come back, and it's because of all the names and faces that I see here today, and all the names and faces of people I don't remember or are not here. I see those faces, and it makes me really feel really, really extraordinarily well to be part of this program, part of this family. It's a fraternal thing that's going to be forever. Sprint football will go on forever. Friendship is forever. Some of the memories that I have, I just can't repeat them all because I've been, like I said, 20 plus years. I've known Coach Cullen for over 50 years. I was thinking of that yesterday when I was driving in. And just to tell you a story, how I got recruited is I worked for Cornell Public Safety at the time. And I was working in a parking booth, and along came Coach Bob. And I knew exactly what time he was there. He was very regimented on his schedule. I could look at my watch and say, okay, Coach Cullen's going to be coming around the corner anytime. And we would have a line on East Ave from Rand Hall across the bridge. I would stop traffic, wave him around, give him his permit so he could go park. So one day he asked me, what are you doing after work today? I said, nothing. He goes, you want to coach sprint football? I said, sure. I showed up in the office, and I couldn't have thought, I felt like I was part of the team for many years just by the folks the coaches that were sitting in the office at the time. It was just an immediate family thing. Some of the other changes we've seen, I remember it was 150, that 48.50 to make it in. Now it's 78. So the kids have grown. They're a lot faster, not as strong as some of the old guys, but a lot faster, and brave.
Appreciate that, Coach. I know that's a shout out to me. I know that's a shout out to me. Thank you, Coach.
All right. So I'm going to end this because I don't want to take up all this time. But one of the reasons I keep coming back, and this is my last story, and this is a Terry Cullen funny story. If you don't know this, Terry and I referee lacrosse together. And way back in the 80s, when I was part of the program, I found out mistakenly that I was not going to come back and coach again. And I coached with Terry Cullen I refereed with him for probably 8 years, driving him every place, all over the world, all over the country. Never spoke about it. And then one day he asked me, he says, what are you doing this fall? I had an immediate flashback to Coach Bob. I said, I don't know. Why? He goes, you want to coach? I said, okay, I'll come back, but you can't fire me anymore. So he promised me he wouldn't fire me anymore. But I am more than grateful for which Coach Cullen has given me. He opened the door, him and his father opened the door for me to come into this program. Even though I've never make weight, I won't make weight, I won't try to make weight, but I'm in love with this program. This is in my blood. This is a disease that I'm glad that I caught many, many years ago. And I want to thank all you alums for every year that you guys show up, beat us twice, I think, so far, not counting, but for all your support, the phone calls, the emails, the faces when you guys come back. It's such a joy, and it makes me very happy to be again part of this sprint football program, which is the best kept secret in America, is this Cornell Sprint football program. And I thank all you alums for your support at all times. There you go, Mark, or Keith, it's all you.
Thanks, Coach. That was great. Really appreciate the reflection in those words. I think it means a lot to everybody. And now we're going to bring on Mr. Jay Carter to talk a little bit about where we're at as an alumni group. You've all been mentioned quite a bit tonight and thanked, and we're going to keep thanking you. And Jay's going to give you some more updates on everything going on with alumni involvement. Go ahead, Jay.
Great. Thanks, Keith, and welcome to everybody on the call. I'm just enjoying this immensely. This is so much better than I thought it was going to turn out. I just want to do two quick things. First of all, I want to thank you, congratulate, and brag on all of us very briefly. It's hard to believe that 9 weeks ago, today was actually Giving Day. And it seems like it was an eternity ago. And Keith has just flashed up here the athletics final leaderboard. And you see who was at the top. We raised the most amount of money, and we absolutely blew everybody away with the gifts. And what you may not be aware of, when you look at this unbelievable performance, we were just over 4% of the total dollars raised by athletics. So you say, all right, that's kind of relative to the proportion our players are of all of the Cornell varsity athletes. On the other hand, we raised 20% of the gifts, and we had 21% of the donors. So, I mean, that is just extraordinary to think that 1 out of 5 was one of us. And boy, does that make me feel proud. I know it does for Terry and the rest of our coaches walking around and everybody else saying, who are those guys? How do they do it? And there was one other dimension that I was looking at, and then I think this was even more astonishing. We're not going to put it up today, but if you were to look at the Cornell leaderboard, the #1 unit was the engineering college, of which, as you know, we have many engineers, both as alums and team players. They were the #1 overall. #2 was student and campus life. #3 was the Arts and Science College. And #4 was Sprint football. I mean, this is unbelievable. We were the 4th largest group in terms of donors on that giving day. We blew away 5 other undergraduate colleges, all the other units, and all the graduate schools. So guys, thank you and congratulations. It is just, I just think, absolutely amazing what we've been able to do. Let me now just segue a little bit. And, you know, a lot of times you can get cynical and say, well, it's just about the money. And I think what we heard from everybody tonight, actually, it's not. What it's all about is all of us as a family. And one of the greatest things we can do is the mentoring and networking that you've already heard a number of people refer to. One of the reasons why Julie and I have moved back to Ithaca is just to be closer to Cornell Athletics, but especially to our Sprint family. And I just had the greatest time, and Anish briefly mentioned it in his remarks, meeting with many of the juniors and seniors, just trying to get an understanding as to what they wanted to do moving forward. And if any way I could help, you know, Terry over the years has been just so amazing of knowing virtually what every one of us has done from a career standpoint. And he can instantly, he's that universal joint, if you will, that can pair up a player who's looking for an opportunity with somebody that can give them at least advice, if not that opportunity. And I would encourage all of us to really try to do that in any way you can. If you're back on campus and you know ahead of time, if you let me know, if you let Terry know, you let Bobby know, we can try to arrange a couple meetings for you with some players just to see and reinforce that today's guys are every bit as good as the guys you see in this picture that's up on the screen right now. I invite everybody, if you're not on our Sprint LinkedIn private user group page, please sign up for that. I think you need to have somebody invite you. If you contact me on LinkedIn, then I can invite you to be part of the group. I'm one of the group managers. And it's a great tool for our players to learn more about each of us and people that may be able to help them. And then finally, and I just want to end it on a note that, you know, these are tough times for many, maybe for some of us alumni, maybe for some of our players that thought they had a position and they've just lost it. And I would just ask, if you or your company are hiring, please let Terry and or me know. And also, if you'd be willing, or your company might be willing to consider an unpaid internship, that's something else that might be of interest to our players. So with that, again, I just want to thank everybody. It's just really exciting for me to see how this whole thing came together tonight. Thank you. And we're now going to go to Q&As, and Keith, take it from here, please.
Okay, thanks, Jay. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat if you haven't already. I'm going to go back to the chat now and see what I can find, but please continue to add them as we go. And the first one I see is from Marty, wondering if there's been any impact from student deferment requests. And I'm not sure which coach wants to take that. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, not yet, Marty, but we're anticipating it. everybody's kind of waiting to see what the administration is going to do or what the Ivy League is going to do. So everything's up in the air right now. It's a really tough time here at Cornell for the administration to figure out where and when we're going to go. But to answer your question, none so far.
Marty had another question on any forecast on the Cornell athletics deficit.
I don't have one. Maybe Keith does. It's so difficult because they shut down when they shut the university down. They shut John Webster and his crew down. Actually, they shut everybody, right, Keith? And so they didn't allow any fundraising to go on for, I don't know, what, 8-9 weeks. And traditionally in athletics, the money comes in late. So
so Giving Day was essentially the last day solicitations were allowed to happen. And you'll probably start getting some email next week, I believe, if you haven't already received some late this week. In terms of the impact on the department, I'm not in the highest level meetings, but I can tell you that a lot of it comes down to, will the students all be back in the fall? If everyone's back on time, far less of an impact. If for some reason the university decides that they can't have students back and everyone has to stay remote, it will be a significant impact. That's about all we've been told. And, so yeah, as Terry says, it's very much wait and see right now. Joe wants to know, who is the heaviest guy on this call?
Who's Joe?
Well, Joe, I'm not a member of the team, nor was I on the team, but I go about 6'5", 250. So I don't know if anybody else wants to admit their size, then they can.
Killer Joe, Terry.
Who is it, Avino?
No, Joe K. from
Fat
Boston.
Joe Kowalik.
Huh?
Fat Joe Kowalik.
Oh, gracious, nobody in his league, I'll tell you that. I'm pretty fat, Kowalik, but I'm not even near as fat as you.
Slow down there, coach.
I've been 172 every single year, including every alumni game. I'm never up, I'm never down.
I hate you.
Just because you don't want to pay the $2 fine. That's the only
That's right. That's right. I've never donated.
The crew you played with, Joe, they were pretty big guys. I'm always amazed. Would you weigh in at 58?
Yeah. Yes.
And you guys were all of that on game day. I remember that. One of the big differences, though, you ought to understand is these guys have to weigh in twice a week. So, like you guys weighed in on Wednesday, we basically didn't even practice on Tuesday because you were all over running around in wetsuits and in the steam room. And they don't do that anymore. So they weigh in at 78, but they're probably playing at 81, 82 biggest. Seeing 190 pounders playing.
I don't know if OB's still on the line, but OB sucked a lot of weight.
He did.
He and Space were monsters. They were monsters.
Yep.
I actually hated playing against them in scrimmages because they were all so fucking miserable because they're sucking weight all the time.
Oh.
I haven't figured out how to actually enter my question on chat. I type it, nothing seems to happen, but I'd say number one, this event has really been wonderful. I think it's just delightful that we've done this, and I think other teams at Cornell have done it. I think the motto of the school of any person blah 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 should have tagged onto it and can play football. But I would point out that a year ago Eric Davis organized a 50th reunion get together for those of us who played 50 years ago, and I was an honorary member of that because I was actually a year older than that. But it was just a really wonderful get together, and chance to really remember the old days. And I was thinking, Terry, if you could get these fellows who are graduating now to send you 75 cents with a commitment to double it every year, the finances will be great for it. But I really appreciate the whole effort of, Keith and the athletic department. I don't know whether, losing the ticket revenue at Sholkoff will offset the expenses of the old fat guys playing football. But I think it's wonderful that we have a community, and it really does illustrate that this is more than just a degree hanging on the wall. This is really something that made, the whole program special for all of us.
Thanks, Spence.
Well said.
Thanks, Bob. We have another question from John Walsh wondering how competitive are the D2, D3 teams? I think you kind of touched upon that, Terry, but if you want to talk more about it, or
Sure.
Coach Bob wants to talk a little more about it. And also, is any have you caught wind of any other new schools considering Sprint?
I'll start, and then you can put Bobby on. First of all, John Walsh is known as JW. He was all Greater Rochester in high school. He played for some unknown Catholic school up there, and actually made quite a name for himself. JW, are you still in Seattle?
Yeah, Portland and Seattle, both cities. Yeah.
Really? Still gainfully employed?
Yep. I'm fooling them all.
Fantastic. Okay, Gino, you got him.
All right. As Coach said earlier, it's open door policy at these Division II schools. So the athletes from top to bottom are outstanding, but you'll find that 30 to 40% of the roster turns over every year. So I can remember playing post 3 years ago, and they had an outstanding quarterback, unbelievable kid, and he disappeared the next year. He didn't even make it through the fall semester, from what I understand. So they're very good, and they're getting better. They're getting better. They can go out and recruit, and if you follow their social media, they're doing a good job of recruiting. They're getting some athletes.
Let me add something to that. Some of these Division II schools and other places like Thomas Aquinas and whatnot, they tend to live stream the games because this is their football program. And consequently, if you can't make it to one of the Sprint games in the fall, and you know who we're playing and we're playing away, you may want to tune in because the live stream stuff is usually pretty good, and you can catch the games right from your computer. So it's something to consider this fall if we get the season launched.
And Cornell can't do that because of the Ivy League or something?
I thought we're on ESPN Plus.
All our games are on ESPN Plus at home.
Yeah.
All our home games are on ESPN Plus.
Good.
Thought there might be. Lawrence has a question, probably for Terry. Any word from Tom Moffitt?
Yeah, it's funny. Tommy's going to come back next year. Bobby's breaking in a new defensive coordinator, and Moff's going to come back and help out and kind of guide him through. He can't go full time because he's still teaching, but he is going to donate his time. And Lawrence, as you will remember, Moffitt brings a whole new dimension to practice. So some of the younger lads are in for a rude awakening, but Moff's doing good.
David Karp wants to know, any chance Princeton could ever make it back?
None. Never happened.
All right, that's all the questions I'm seeing right now, and we're closing in on 8 o'clock. So I would say thank you to the 60 plus participants that came out and joined us tonight. It's a great number. We really appreciate it. And I'll give the coaches the final word, and then we'll let everyone unmute and have some fun.
I'll start. I want to thank everyone for being here and supporting the program for over the years. I'm not a Cornell graduate. I happened to go across the hill at Ithaca College, but I always knew how fantastic this program has been, and I thank you.
That's good. It's good.
I'll follow up again. Want to thank the alums. Want to thank, if we have any current players in the room. I didn't see any listed, but this program is about all of us. You know, they're using this term all in together. We'll do this stuff together. But this program is truly, truly a family-driven organization. And I can't tell you guys how proud to be a part of this. And every time that I hear Cornell alum, I'm on Cornell every day. And I keep telling people about this program, and I keep telling them about how strong our alumni association is. And they can't believe it either. And I said, well, just look at Giving Day, what Jay showed earlier. And they come back to me and go, wow, what a great group of guys. And I said, nobody made it to the NFL. They came here to play football because they love football, they love Cornell, and they love this program. So again, I want to thank all you guys for paving the way for us. I'm still here, and I still have a Cornell email address. If you want to write me, I'll answer.
I'll finish up, Keith, if you want. I just got a couple of emails in from Nick Halverson. He's down in Costa Rica. He's doing a big development down there, and he said he screwed up, which is not unusual. That's what he did when he played here. So he was an hour off, but he said to send everything. And then the fabulous Judge Williams from someplace in Pennsylvania is hooked up with Dr. Sethi, and they're in a bar, and they thought that was more important than getting on here, but they did want everybody to say hello. Keith, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to sign out now. I have another Zoom meeting with my family. Eric Davis, I'll get a hold of you.
All right. Well, thanks, coaches. Jay?
Thanks a lot, this is Eric.
Okay, guys, you know, if anybody wants to hang on and kibitz for a few minutes, that's fine. If everybody wants to drop, that's cool also.
And now that I'm not sharing my screen anymore. The top right corner, if you haven't hit gallery view yet, hit that. It should open up a lot more faces for you to look at. Not saying that's a good thing, but it's available. Thanks again, everybody, and go ahead and unmute yourselves and talk amongst yourselves.
Thanks, Keith. We really appreciate it. Terry, what have you been drinking?
It looks strong.
4 o'clock is cocktail hour down there, and that's a little Jameson, a little touch. Just
oh, yeah, it looked frothy. How do you make your Jameson frothy?
The heat.
That's it's an Irish thing. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be like Spencer. You know, I want to be a gentleman. I can't believe OB's on. How come you never come to Ithaca?
It's too far away.
Yeah,
like 40 minutes. You just.
I had a whole bunch of OB stories, babe.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
I'm going to save them for when you come down. We'll go on the Fall Creek House and discuss O'Brien's stories.
Maybe when they let this thing go sometime later this fall.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. Good to see you, Ob. And Ron Space and Clarence. Good to see you guys, man.
Yep, it was.
You, OB.
Huh? Who's got Space? Space is a pretty good football player, and like his old man. He can play football.
Yeah, he does laundry too, you can tell.
Yeah, he's not a short, squat guy. He's like a tall, athletic type. Churchill's the same way. He's not better than his father, so I mean, other time zone. So.
Yeah.
A bridge too far, as they say.
I'm not letting you get away with that, Coach. He's a pretty good ball player.
I had to take his father off the Huddle account because he was spying our practices and getting our plays.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hang on a second.
Well, I enjoyed it, man.
Oh, wow. Look at that, a helmet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I wanted a helmet from Terry. He says, yeah, give me $300. I'll give you a helmet.
Well,
But he also gave me
Sounds
the
like
jersey.
That sounds like a good
Jersey as well.
fundraising strategy, Terry.
300 bucks. I was like, yeah, good.
That's half what he charged me, so you're good. All right?
Well, he may remember the story. I don't want to tie up a lot of time. We went down to the Mansfield University game one time. I took my younger son, Andrew, and Andrew brought a football with him, and he went in after the game to the Cornell Sprint guys with a Sharpie, and everybody signed a goddamn football, right? He was that freaking impressed about the stuff.